So I got Dobber from Necrofier, Oceans of Slumber, Insect Warfare, and anything else that I miss.
Yeah, there's a few. Malignant Altar,
Malignant Altar, yes. How can I forget? Fuck.
Terror Corpse now, and then a bunch of bands back in the past.
Yeah, man. I mean, you were one of those highly sought drummers, man, and rightfully so, because the drumming and the musicianship that you bring to the table is like just by far fucking like uh extreme and melodic and technical, everything under the sun, everything in the kitchen sink, as they say, with every project you put your hands on. And I'm just, you have been requested by a bunch of mutual friends to be on the podcast, and and once uh, Ben had shed a light on everything that you have done in your career, and I've been listening like religiously with Necrofier, namely, and and I just recently discovered Insect Warfare, Malignant Altar, and the music you have done with Oceans of Slumber together with your wife. It's man, it's nothing short of fucking amazing.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to get to know more about you, the man, that and all that good stuff. So I like to hear how you came up, where you come from, and uh, just basically your musical journey.
I'm from East Texas, in a little area called Big Creek, Texas, outside of Shepherd. So really small. Um, I grew up with a lot of music around me. I got a lot of country and uh, oldies and all that stuff. My dad's older, so he's 84 this Saturday. So that means the 50s and 60s music were all kind of where he came from. So I listened to that a lot, and then my brother listened to heavy metal. My cousins a little bit of heavy metal, hard rock, and stuff like that. And so um, and with those, there used to be this series of tapes, it was like cruising to the oldies type of tape that everybody used to get back in the day because people used to just send you music because music used to be a bigger deal back then.
Yeah.
And so my dad would always get these tape sets, and I would battle him to get a tape player or like I don't know if you, how old are you?
I'm 45. How
Okay,
about you? How about you?
46.
Okay.
So those stacked realistic or pioneer multi
Yeah.
decks that had all the shit on them, and I was like,
Yep.
man, I want one of these. And he would give me a boom box, and I would listen to the stuff through the boom box. But ultimately, like, I wanted this big stereo rig. And then that turned into me and my cousins breaking impedance laws and plugging in or daisy chaining like 15 pairs of speakers, and I would screw them to the ceiling of my bedroom, and I would listen to shit was when I was fucking what, 14, 13. I'd listen to Sepultura and Morbid Angel and all that kind of stuff. Then my first metal stuff was probably Metallica, just like everybody back then.
Right. Yeah.
um yeah, I had a couple of acquaintances in school, junior high, and all that. They got me into Metallica, and I think it was more about kind of being cool and risque than anything.
Yeah.
Then you just start liking the music, and then I'd heard Venom back then and all that, which I thought that was Venom. I was like, yeah, whatever with that. But that was 10 years old, so
Yeah, same. About the same age exactly whenever I discovered Venom and Slayer for the first time.
yeah, I had that. There was a comp tape that had Slayer on it. The one that had "Evil Has No Boundaries." I forget the name of the comp, but I had a friend from school. This kid Rory Kiefer. He's like, "Oh, you got to listen to this." And then there was another like Outcast kid. You got to remember, my class had maybe 70 people total.
That sounds familiar with me too, man. I grew up in a small town called Delcom, Louisiana, and our graduating class was probably 60 kids.
Yeah, yeah, a little hole in the wall shit. And so
Yeah.
obviously, I was from a fairly, a big family that was around the town a little bit, but here I go like dipping off and hanging out with all the burnouts and the stoners and all that shit. And I would sneak over to well, I wouldn't sneak over. I would go to my grandpa's house, and my dad and them would all sit around a fire and drink beer and play dominoes and all that good, good country stuff. Which I wouldn't trade that for nothing. I wish everybody did that. And then I would run in the house about the time, what was it? Headbangers Ball would come on, and I'd go in there and I'd see Sabbath videos and Dio videos. I remember seeing Fate's Warning and Merciful Fate and all kinds of shit back then. Um, Even like later, deeper cuts, they would play, like the Morbid Angel videos and shit like that. And so, I would do all of that. And so here I was in this little small ass podunk town and riding horses and feeding animals and welding and racing dirt bikes and all this stuff, shooting guns. And then on the flip of it, I'm figuring out how to play Rising Force by Yngwie Malmsteen on my downtime.
Yeah.
I think it was more of a thing that my family at the time was so enamored with like guitar playing and musicians and stuff. And we had these things called picking and grinning.
Mhm.
And everybody would sit around with fake books, like family fake books, and we would play songs. And and I was a kid, like a little kid, and I remember lying about being able to play because I wanted to do the shit. I thought that you could just play, and so then when I couldn't, I made it like I was like, yeah, I'm fucking figuring this out. I'm not going to look like a fool next time. And so then I started playing guitar probably around 11, something like that. If I had to guess, it was probably around 10 or 11. Sixth grade. So yeah, my daughter's 11 now, and 11-year-olds these days aren't the same.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I could definitely relate, man. I have, 2 grown boys, for the they're both, 20 and 22, and I know that what you and I considered, was a good time at 11, 12 years old, for them, I mean, they wasn't going outside, they wasn't doing shit, I mean, we had to force them out, out the house, but, at 11 and 12, whenever you was picking up the guitar, now were you taking lessons or were you,
I
just
played
on
like
on
the
your own?
I played acoustics, and then I'd learn and picked up stuff like just observationally, and then yeah, around seventh grade, which I'd be 12, I started taking guitar lessons because I got pretty serious about it. And then and the guitar lessons, it wasn't like a structured thing. It was the type of guitar lessons you go to the guy and he's like, "What do you want to learn?" You know. And so then I'd done that for about a year, and then the guy was basically, he said, "I've taught you everything I can teach you. Like you need to go out on your own," which I knew that was bullshit. So I bought a book called Monster Scales and Modes, and I taught myself how to play, and then you know now we're here.
Yeah, and somewhere along the way, I mean, you started picking up, I mean, because we started following each other on social media, and you showcase some earlier videos of you playing, masterful fucking piano. When it was that always in your skill set before the guitar? Because
No, when I was probably in my 20s, maybe 18 or something, I forgot. It was about the time that Samael put a record out called Ceremony of Opposites. I think it came out in '94. That's probably the reason why I play drums is that record, like 100%. Like I taught myself how to play like off of that record, which ironically is probably maybe about the last time that I'd ever put on headphones and played drums to a record. So 30 years ago, I've never done that ever. I was never into that. And I wasn't doing it because I was trying to learn the songs. Like I knew the fucking songs like the back of my hand. I still know that. I mean, that's one of my favorite records ever created. Um, I did it because I knew I wanted to play drums like that. And so the drumming on that record were the groove and everything. The pocket was so deep, and everything that he was doing was so orchestrated to what the music was doing. But come to find out is because the drummer had written all the music, and he always has for Samael. And so I guess it kind of led me down the same path to where I wrote a lot of the music, or helped produce or orchestrate a lot of the music that I've always been involved with. And so it's always helped that I've played guitar forever, but I got really, really good at guitar around the time I was 15 or 16. And then come to find out, uh, is, the music's the ego world, anyways. And it's, egos are good and bad. We can't, scoff at them.
Yeah.
And Jeff Emmerich or George Martin, one of the famed Beatles producers, in one of their bios, or just one of the books, or interviews that they've done, they asked about ego, and he says, if it gets the job done, then I like ego. If it makes everyone in the room stop and pay attention to somebody because they're having a fucking shit fit, then we don't like ego. And I feel the same way. It's like we want competency when we're playing, and we want ability. So I was good at guitar. 16, I'm playing Trilogy Suite and all this Ingve stuff. I'm learning all this Steve Vai shit because I'm really heavily into it. And then I'm also into Pantera and then Morbid Angel and all that kind of shit. Then I was like, hey, I want to play in a band. I'm looking to play in bands. We have plenty of guitar players. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first thing that everybody picked up around that age was guitar, and so not many people played drums. And I went to an Oppressor show, Oppressor, Gorguts, Malevolent Creation, and this band from Lufkin, Texas called Viral Load. And and I was like, hey, I'm a guitar player. I'm up the road from you in the sticks, just like you are. I want to play guitar in your band. And notice you don't have a lead guitar player. And the guitar player from Viral Load definitely had plenty of one kind of ego. And he said, we don't need a guitar player, but if you can play drums, we need a drummer. And I said, I've fucked around with drums some, but I could learn how to play drums. And they were like, well, do you have a kit? I said, no. Can you get a drum set? I was like, I can work on it. And so then, like, within about month, 6 weeks time, I went up there, tried out. We played a show the next week. And then probably 2, 3 months later, I tracked a demo with them. And I think I was 18 years old, 18, 19 years old. And it's a mouth-watering stench Viral Load demo. And it's been repressed a zillion times and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was cool. It was fun. He, uh, Sean Whitaker, the guitar player, is an exceptionally talented guitar player. And with that comes sometimes problems, and sometimes it comes from problems. So we didn't always see eye to eye. We still don't. But that doesn't take away the fact that he's a ridiculously talented guitar player and musician. But shortly after that, I wasn't so much into what they did because it was like silly, tongue in cheek type of death metal and music for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I don't like silly music hardly at all. So music's very serious pursuit for me. There's some bullshit songs that I've laughed at through my life, of course. Um, but what I really wanted to do was play uh, Morbid Angel and Deicide and Brutality and Disincarnate and all that shit. And that's the type of music that I wanted to play. Immolation, obviously, Incantation, obviously. And there was a band in town in Houston called Imprecation, and they were like the big band, and they were fucking amazing. But they were super evil, and it was super dark. They'd have 10-foot upside down crosses with candles lit and burning on stage, and they'd have like this funeral bell thing that Ruben would play to the side, and it was like epic. It was black metal presented and very brutal, evil death metal. And so I was just like, I want to do this. This is exactly what I want to do. I want to play in a band like this. They started having some identity crisis around 99, and the two guitar players split off with the drummer to form Infernal Dominion. And they, with the identity crisis, I guess, came them wanting to like break away from the formula that they had been using. And so I was up the hallway practicing, and I'd talked to Jim and Wes a bunch, just in passing and going to shows. And Jim walked down the hall and he's like, "Who the fuck is that playing all that fast ass double bass?"
Yeah.
And Wes was like, "I know that kid. He like really wants to jam." And so then they invited me over, gave me a little rehearsal room tape that they, before they had ever done anything as Infernal Dominion, gave me a rehearsal room tape. We redid it and then went and tracked it a couple of months later. Just fast moving. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, background has always been all over the place. I listen to a lot of soul, a lot of country music. I have a lot of family that was in country music and blues and all that stuff. And so, um, I also have an affinity for jazz and classical music. Um, Not like I listen to everything. I actually know a lot about the shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 46, about to be 47. So I try to explain to my wife all the time. Like I've had enough time to put 10 years, so master level approach to something three times now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've done that. I've done my best at it. I've done my best to start the path. It's like obviously it never ends. So
My question for you, Dauber, is like you talked about how there's these skilled musicians who may have one type of ego where you find yourself disagreement, and as a drummer, you're, for all intents and purposes, the backbone of the band. How do you, as a drummer, are able to just stop the ego dead in its tracks without trying to ruffle anyone's feathers or hurt their ego in the process?
uh, I guess you don't really, you know. It's like whenever you're in a band situation. But if you'll notice, like a lot of people that do similar things that I do, because it's not anything special. Like if you're a drummer and a decent drummer, you're getting a lot of things. But the deal is I don't venture off into territories with too many other people anymore. And what I've learned by that is that um, Oceans of Slumber did a live in studio recording. We did it in a studio in front of an audience, one time, one take. Everybody had to be like fucking like top notch, right?
Right.
And our friend Carla, Carla Kilstead, she is a massively known, uh, rather famous violinist. Uh, she's got masters, I believe, in from Curtis Institute or somewhere like this. Like crazy background in voice and violin. She's also got perfect pitch. She could hear lines and write them down like in real time. There are a lot of people that have this skill, but she's one of them, and she's incredible. She's one of my favorite musicians in the world. I was talking to her on the phone in preparation, and I said, "Hey, we're having some troubles with the keyboard player, and just getting him caught up." And she just stopped me because we were on a video chat. And she's like, "What do you mean troubles? Like troubles? Like we just need to replace him?" you know. And it's just how that works. It's like a lot of the times you don't have time, and what's honed what I do is that I usually step in and take care of the stuff that somebody else can't take care of.
Mhm.
It's about the product. It's about the end result. It's not about who plays, uh, necessarily who plays what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's not a liner note that says every one of these lines is so and so. It's like on the Necrofier stuff. Like I generally play the majority of the lead guitars on the records. You know,
Mhm.
and so. Um, and it's just because, for one, if we're in a studio like we did that second record, we did that in New York. We did it live in real time. That place is we are luckily we have really good friends up there, but that place is not a cheap place.
Right.
So if the time's running and the clock's ticking and all that shit, it's all like, hey, okay, cool, you tried. Like let's do this and move on. And that's what the business of it is to me. So you don't really. I think what the ego check is that you're making sure you're not stepping on somebody else's dick while you're stepping on your own.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah, that
what I
makes
mean?
sense. Yeah, definitely.
And it's yeah, so it's not you're like this is not personal whatsoever. This is like this is just we need to do this because the outcome matters, right?
Right.
I mean it does and it matters to us. I would say as far as record sales the world over, the outcome really doesn't matter that much to the listener, and that's the other part of it, you know.
Yeah, and, I'm really, curious, Necrofier is one of those bands to me that is, a very much, you know, talented, skillful band and musicians that you have, you and Christian and the other guys. Uh, I guess my question for you in particular that record, like what made y'all decide to task with the Grammy nominated producer to track that record for y'all?
Joel and I are really good friends, and
Okay.
he started working with us on Oceans of Slumber's record, and the first record that we did set all kinds of records for what that was in the genre, and that genre is like progressive metal, progressive rock, whatever. But that the record won a lot of accolades, and it was a very controversial record too because we come from a heavy mixture of it's like we were like a less silly, we were a not silly Mr. Bungle more than we were like Leprous or Fate's Warning, you know what I mean? And so to me, the progressive tag was about uh, cross genre bending, and that's what Oceans of Slumber was a genre bending. And I contacted Joel because he had worked with Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. He had worked with Highly Suspect, Unsane, a handful of bands.
Yeah.
Uh, a handful of bands that I knew well, and I liked the productions, but he was really good at drum sounds. Um, we talked, and then come to find out, we kind of cut from the same cloth, you know. On top of all this shit, he was a professional construction guy. You know, that's how he funded and started and did everything in his studio world. Is that he hung drywall and framed houses and did all this shit. And I was all like, yeah, I feel you on that, man. Like I've done all that stuff and still do. And I was like, I'm into this style of music. He's into hardcore and neurosis, which I love neurosis, and we have a lot of things in common and also ideologies. So we worked on Oceans together. Well, that turned into, hey, I want to do a heavier record, or I'd like to do something like a black metal record, like with Necrofier, and I like Christian and all this stuff. So let's put a budget together. We'll figure it out. And we'll make a black metal record together. And so we did Burning Shadows with him. Right after that, we we flew to Colombia with Oceans and tracked our last record with him in Colombia in Bogota. So we have a lot of and then within right after that we tracked a new Necrofier with him in Houston
Yeah,
and then flew to New York to mix it. So the reason why is just because we're buddies and I wanted to see what a sonic footprint doing something kind of the old way would be for black metal and uh it's more of a for us thing than it is for anybody else.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Coming to when you come to terms with that, like you might have looked at liner notes and you might have followed the lore. Nobody follows the lore anymore. Like they don't care about that shit. And young 25-year-olds who are the people buying music now or listening, they're not caring about lore because they're completely fucking inundated with content daily.
yes, it's true.
And so then you get things like whatever that weird uh fem guy AI black metal band with a guy laying back like he was on a 70s soul cover. Uh and stuff like that. And if you'll notice the amount of costumes and it's like it's black metal, obviously it's about theatrics, but it's like everything is turned into
One big costume,
yeah.
basically.
Well, that's the sales pitch these days,
Yeah,
it's like how
yeah.
are you supposed to what are you supposed to do be interesting, like everything's interesting right now, online with the whole thing. Hang on, my little my little girl's back here hollering. Uh,
She's got the voice.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So it's it's weird and it's great. It's like I don't care. Like I guess once you kind of find out, what do they say? It's the second death of ego when you hit your 40s, something like that.
Yeah.
Is that whenever you kind of you give up on this idea of conquering the world in any kind of way, and then you really just everything's in service to the world or to the community around you or whatever the fuck. And it's like you try to balance these things, and you're like, hey, I try to be a good human being. I try to leave the place nicer than I left it. I try to care about the things that I'm doing, which is musically and otherwise. And it's like that's kind of where I'm at with all of it. It's like I don't care how everybody else is recording. I don't care about a lot of people's music. It's like I don't. I find stuff and I stumble across it accidentally. Um, I realize that we're all in our 40s trying to market music that people in their 20s are still picking up on, and it's all like, yeah, that's a weird one. If you're trying to get 40-year-old, 50-year-old guys to come out and go to shows, you're definitely going to lose your ass.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so,
you definitely yeah, you're definitely, a slippery slope with that one, that's for sure. But, but, uh but in Houston, I mean, I've noticed, I mean, there's a lot of, guys, our age or older, still turning up, going to shows, and that's pretty, that's pretty incredible in itself.
there is, when it's an event, there is.
Yeah,
Dark Angel played, there was, 300 people there. Uh, Gamma Side just is doing a run through Texas right now, and there's 50 people at the shows.
yeah,
So it depends on how much stain your piss left. You know what I mean?
right on.
And so and it's one of those things. It's because like Christian's festival. It's a bunch of people screaming and hollering at bands that are like legacy acts that they know that they heard the name before, and they go out and check them out, and that's about the extent of it. And it's
Yeah,
like it's some surface level uh fun, I guess. And it's great. I love seeing a 2,000 plus people in Houston watching Saxon. Do I think that they listen to Saxon very much? Like, no, not really.
probably not, you know?
Right.
They
That's what I don't like about festivals is it's kind of like a dick fluffer, you know what I mean? Or a push-up bra, it's like not that any of those are bad. It's like you feel good about those things. But in the grand scheme of things, if you play that many people and you don't the carryover, they in all reality is like what they say is 10%, less than 10%, right?
Yeah, right
So if
on.
you go play with a band and that band has 2,000 fans, you might make 200 fans out of it, and that's fucking very unlikely.
Yeah,
Because we've done that. We went on tour with Danzig, and we sold merchandise and did stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it turned those people into Necrofier fans.
right. Was, whenever, Necrofire was starting out, I mean, was this, something that you wanted to do? Like, or, like, obviously, you're a founding member.
Yeah,
Were you just wanting to, scratch that black metal itch that you had for a while?
yeah. I'd put up a post on Facebook like, I have been a massive black metal fan for the entirety of my metal life. I had just never played like traditionally in a black metal band. I played black and death metal plenty, um, and then this dude Zolrak from here in town, he's got a band back in Mexico called Unholier, but he lived here in Houston. And when I first came to Houston to try and jam with more people and kind of branch out, he was the first person I linked up with, and the first thing that we ever played together was like "Curse Ye All Men" or something, some Emperor song. He's like, he didn't speak English very well back then. He's all like, Emperor, like you play Emperor, and I was like, yeah, I know some Emperor, and he started playing the riff, and we played it, And I mean, in all honesty, it was just all like, hey man, these motherfuckers don't speak English too well. I don't know how this is gonna work out, because I don't speak Spanish, which I should have been speaking Spanish. It was more my fault. And then come to find out, we become really good friends over the years, and we look back on that and laugh, which is pretty funny. But I had never, I'd never had the opportunity to. Black metal's its own gate kept scene.
Definitely.
You don't. I was a little more of a bird in flight on this. I was fine with doom. I was fine with death metal. I was fine with black metal. I loved heavy metal. I loved all this stuff. Progressive metal. And let me close this door, man. This kid's
No
she's back
problem.
here going nuts. Um, but in black metal, there's so many fucking haters, and rightfully so. But they're all, a bunch of them are fucking dorks too. It's like
Yeah.
they run this whole gamut of this like ultra tough and all this shit, or like, oh, we'll kill posers and all that. And it's like, I appreciate that. I mean, I do. I understand. It's all like there are people that we don't need in the scene, and squatters and all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
it's like I understand that, but I also don't sit around and piss and moan about some big major label band doing well. I just don't listen to the music, and I don't like them.
Yeah, same here, man. There's a lot of bands of that ilk, that's been around for, I mean, since fucking 93, that have just exploded like the Scandinavian scene. I'm not gonna name any names, but you know, and it's just mainly for the atmosphere, mainly for the look and the costume and all the fucking just and
Pageantry.
the pageantry. Thank you. Yes, and
Yeah.
it's just fucking boring to me, man. It's just boring, and it's like, dude, it's just this fucking cash grab. Just call it what it is. It's a fucking cash grab.
I I like the over the top stuff. Like I believe in separating the stage and what's on stage from the crowd. Like all that stuff is something. Um Now how you do it is, it's like I like Attila with Mayhem.
Yeah,
It's a big theatrical, it's an act, it's great. Like he's fully about it. Uh but like these bands, these newer bands, the Cannon Fever and all these bands that are like knocking off like World War I and World War II stuff. I don't. It's like I don't hate the shit. I just don't like pay attention to it.
yeah, yeah.
And then whenever they're getting massive and all these bands are blowing up and doing this stuff, it's like I'm not willing to do any of that shit.
Yeah,
It's like I'm not gonna try and put on a costume and a cape and I come more from like a Motorhead, Slayer, Venom, Venom Bathory, you know.
yeah. The
And I,
raw, the raw, the primitive, fucking just straight up,
I like the
uh,
meaner stuff.
meaner
That's
shit.
that's
Exactly.
that's what I like. I like the stuff that's more hateful and pissed off, and it's like I expect that. That's what I kind of expect out of all the stuff.
I have a friend of mine who was asking me, like, Mo, you mentioned Dark Throne just about every fucking episode, and this one's no different. And he's like, dude, he's like, I just can't get into Dark Throne. I was like, well, then you're just not into fucking black metal. Just call it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
You know? I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, and that's the thing is that uh, it's like for me, I guess the more elegant side of it has been what's more appealing to me. And by that, it's like out of all those bands, I liked Celtic Frost the most.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I'm with you on that.
and and I don't, people don't consider that, but it's all like, well, Tom's, and crew were painting their faces, they were making the look, they were crossing over all these things. He just didn't have the shrieks, but to Megatherion, into the Pandemonium, like all the stuff that they were experimental shit that they were doing, bringing in the female voices and the orchestral shit. It was like it was the difference between watching some Saturday morning cartoon and then watching Alien and all that shit for the first time. So
Right.
you're like, oh, holy shit, like this is real. This is like scary. Some of the stuff's like actually fucking, like, oh, and you didn't know what was theatrics. You just enjoyed it. I Yeah, and it's so I put a Facebook thing up saying I've done just about everything, and I haven't done a black metal band, but it's like I absolutely adore black metal. And I guess that's where you get into the semantics of it because people are like, "Oh, what you're calling?" Because there's people that argue that dissection isn't black metal and dawn and all that kind of stuff, and it's all like, well, that's black metal, and it's black metal to me, so I like that. I also like more primitive stuff. I like the Dark Throne uh, early catalog a lot. I like. It's the whole thing. I remember getting a magazine and it had a layout of things like Bathory and Venom, and these were this first wave of black metal. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna find these records. I'm gonna check them out. And I got the
Yeah.
Bathory and Under the Sign or something, and I was like, holy shit, this sounds so bad. Like, why does this sound so bad? And then I was like, oh, this is the point of it, and the Burzum shit and all that. And I was like, all right, all right. And so I got Death Crush from a local a local record store called Sound Plus. I'd gotten an original Death Crush CD, and I went home and I was like, yeah, this just sounds like punk rock, Like I thought, this was something blah blah blah. And then the Mysteries, the first like actual black metal Venom record came out, or Venom Mayhem record came out, and I just fucking listened to it nonstop. I was like, this is so cold sounding. This is so like uh, terrifying. This is amazing. And the funny thing is like the drums are overdubbed, like the tom fills and shit.
Mhm.
And so like they have the beat, and he would finish the line, and then they would like drop the tom, like the fills in. That's when the fills are super fucking loud, but you can hear
Yeah.
the other beats and stuff happening behind them. It's like really bad edits. And and then from there I would follow Hellhammer on everything that he played, the Arcturus, fucking Winds, like whatever the hell he would play on, I would try to do that. And then you started finding out that like all of these dudes were playing in a version of all of these bands that you liked,
Yeah.
and so like the Ophthalmia guys, they were Marduk and wherever hell else I can't remember, like Edge of Sanity and all that, and it's all like the necrophobic guys and the black mark bands and all that shit. And so you kind of find out that all of these main dudes are kind of behind a lot of the stuff that you liked, all these side projects. And uh, so I kind
Yeah.
of started modeling myself into the same kind of thing. It was all like, I see why they wind up doing it. It's like because they all like making stuff and they all team up with dudes, and in Texas we just don't have the options like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very very hateful scene here.
And I could have been fooled though, man, because like whenever the night that Beharit played, man, they had like like all the who's who of like fucking Texas war metal come out to support Beharit,
Yeah,
and I was like, fuck, dude, like where have I been not paying attention to what was going on in Texas the entire time?
yeah, yeah. And then they all went back home and talked shit about everybody else's bands. That's how the stuff works. It's like that in no way can we reinforce a scene uh, because the people are more. That's the problem to me with black metal and war metal, especially, is like that. It's that it's so propped up by like the mystique of the scene itself that the musicianship is it's not a shared trait, and it's not a shared characteristic. It's like the you'll have the loudest people be the least contributing.
Yeah,
And so then that's kind of where I fell off with scene stuff, and it's all like it's why I don't fuck with anybody, I don't even bother with people. I'm self sufficient, and then I've got my group of so and so's that I want to jam with. And maybe it comes off like that because nobody really hits me up to fucking jam either. I'll occasionally get some brave kid who'll be like, I've got a grindcore band, and you're the drummer for Insect Warfare. I was wondering if you'd play in my grindcore band, and I'm all like, no, kid, it's you got to cut your own fucking teeth.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't you can't get me involved because I don't do like higher stuff. Like I've been hit up by bigger bands like to play for them, and it's like that's not my music. I don't want to do that. And that's just kind of how I feel about it, and that's how I've always felt about it. It's why I don't spread myself around and do that kind of stuff. I'm not into jobbing as a musician.
yeah. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, you got your own stuff to worry about, to be that you committed to, and you have a family. So I could see why, your time is very precious to you. So that I mean, that's to be
Well,
understood.
yeah, I mean, and it has more to do with the fact that if I'm gonna put that energy out there, that it's gonna be something that's mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I've been hit up by a handful of big prominent bands, and it's like it's a paycheck and all that good stuff, and sure, cool. But it's like I don't really operate like that. I wouldn't even know what to do. They're like, oh, just come in and replay somebody's parts. I'm all like, okay, no, that's not really what uh somebody like me would do. It's like I've got a pretty hefty improvisational background, and
I was about to say, like obviously, like the improvisation and the creative aspect of being, an artist that suits you. It seems like that's in your wheelhouse.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So that's why I don't get off on the scene politics. I think stupid gimmicky bands are stupid and gimmicky, but also people would look at black metal, like every black metal band, and be like, "Oh, this is stupid and gimmicky." You're all like, "Yeah, you could say that, but at least there's a consistency in uh, the devil." You know what I mean? And it's like one of the things that I like about this style of music is that it kind of stays in that world a whole lot, where it's all like, you know, uh, uh, it ain't it's not that it's evil and satanic because everybody's evil and satanic. It's evil and satanic because like those are the fun things that we liked as kids, and those are the countercultures that like scream to us about everything to do with heavy metal.
Yeah.
And so you're like, yeah, man, this is just fun. Like what the it's supposed to be. It's like those old fucking slasher movies. It's like deadly fun. It's supposed to be Silent Night, Deadly Night type of shit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's what actually drew me in. I remember seeing like the first images of like Golgoroth's like infamous concert where they had people crucified like falsely crucified and all that shit, and they had the pig heads and the blood and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And, like that seeing that image as I think I might have been 15 at the time when I saw that in the magazine, I was like, holy shit, like I need to know more about this type of metal.
Yeah, that
And
looks fun.
yeah, it definitely looks fun, man. Yeah, and, it just growing up on fucking horror movies and all that shit. So it was just like an easy segue into like what I've been doing.
Well, there was a was in the early 2000s, late 90s. There was Full Moon Records, Full Moon Productions,
Full Moon Productions. That's what Seder had owned.
and then there was Osmos, and Osmos Productions was like roughly the same exact thing. It was like all this ultra underground, the most evil. I forgot who had Campfire and all that, the Norwegian stuff, but I remember that they had signed. Was it Osmos? One of those labels had signed Disgorge from Mexico, and they had a record label, or they had an album that came out, Chronic Corporate Infest, that was disgusting, absolutely disgusting. It was a hip area and vagina of a woman, and then there was like this mangled aborted fetus like hanging out of the thing, and it was the album cover, and it like fucking red flagged everything. Like everybody was like, this is not coming out, this is not happening. And I was like, fuck, like this is like the most extreme I was a kid, so you have to look back and think of like all these impactful moments even now when you see something that you're like, oh, that's gross or that's childish, and it's all like there's some 16-year-old or 20-year-old seeing this for the first time, and then we all clutch our pearls and talk about how terrible it is that this all happens, but it also changed us. It made us,
Right,
you know.
right,
And
right.
so then you're looking at a magazine with fucking goats' heads and blood everywhere and people being crucified. And then you're thinking back to like whenever your 12-year-old kid was like, don't look at that. And this is going to fucking ruin you because it ruined my life. And I remember that this Gorge had done a live show, and Antimo, the singer, bass player, he's a big guy. He looks, he looks like a big butcher type of bald headed guy, big belly. And he's on the thing. He's got his bass up here and his chains and shit everywhere. And he's just like pouring fucking pig's blood, like gallons of the shit on his head. And it's grainy footage. And he's like screaming into the mic in between songs. And it's just like meat and shit hanging everywhere. And you're like, holy fucking shit. Like this is what is this? Like I'm sure people were fucking shitting their pants. But you saw Watain was touring through the states when they first started coming through, and we're carrying a U-Haul full of fucking rotten body parts or animal parts, and it was stuff like that. It was all these like super extreme, nasty. It was these maneuvers, and it cemented them into something forever. And then now nobody drinks and nobody fucking does
Yeah,
drugs.
everyone's a vegan and all that shit, it's like, it's crazy. I mean, there's no knock on, vegans, but it's just wild, like, how far musicians have come as far as, just the outlandish, shit that they're known for, and everyone's just
Well, I mean, wouldn't I'd have to say that if I were to take the data set on time and uh, age versus time of birth versus usage and everything else, and you would come to find out it's like things are a lot less shocking now and a lot less like violent and who is it? Richard Dawkins or one of these guys talking about we're at a safer point in history, even though everybody feels like I mean, the world's going crazy, but as a whole, as civilization, we're safer and happier than we've ever been, and things are better the world over, despite all the fucking conflicts. And you're like, yeah, it seems like that. And then you got 20-year-olds who you can't do dope in the bathroom. Not that I'm advocating people doing fucking coke or anything, but it's like I feel bad because when I was coming up, you could safely do drugs and you wouldn't die from them, and now everything's got fentanyl or fucking trank or something in it, and
yeah.
you got to have a test kit to do cocaine, and then the cocaine sucks really bad, and it's like
And
I.
there's this whole new like, just, like, in recent years, like, I remember, like, it was always just say no, and now it's like, well, just say test your drugs. Just test your drugs first before you get loaded.
Just say something.
Just say something.
Well, and it's weird because and I've been in venues a lot over the past 10 years, and there's uh the Narcan, and I've seen people fucking go out from fucking overdoses and shit. It's not overdosing because they're doing so many like drugs. It's drugs. They're overdosing because something's hot or it's spiked or whatever the fuck, and you're like, oh man. So it's weird. I think it's a bit neutered, you know, and that's a weird way to look at it, I guess. But I think that the art form is it's kind of stagnant. There's bands that are coming out that are doing great things, but there are also just a lot of fucking bands coming out. You know,
Yeah, just for the sake of coming out, and the product is really hit or miss, and just outside looking in, I mean, uh, what I've been used to listening to, like, bands that I've always referred to, the older stuff. I always fall back on that, and like every now and then there's something new in recent years, and I'll put Necrofier in that conversation where it's like oh shit, well, this is actually really good. It's you could definitely tell the musicianship has uh been crafted for some time before y'all actually even went into the studio. So that's where I'm at with that.
well, appreciate that. I mean, it's yeah, it's the case, but Chris Dick, he's the one of the main writers for Decibel. He had we had done an interview recently. Let me try to get my phone somewhere here. I just got off work, so my phone's like low on power also. But I did an interview. He'd covered the last Oceans of Slumber record for Decibel, which Oceans is a heavy band, but uh, guys are weird about women being in metal, and my wife is like an exceptional vocalist,
She
but
is.
people want girls who play the guys game. They're not really interested in vocals. That's why it's so amazing to me that Acid Bath is like exploded with everybody because Dax Riggs is one of my favorite singers in the fucking planet since the day they came out. But Cammy is a singer like that, you know, and so Ocean's always had such a hard run of shit because you know, we weren't like a symphonic band, but we got lumped in with the because she's a girl, you know, and um Chris interviewed me for Oceans and we were talking about some of this stuff and I was just bitching about how the business of all this works. And he said, you know, the big problem with everything right now is that because of accessibility to artwork and accessibility to studio stuff and sound and all this stuff, he goes, every record is a seven now. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, that every record is okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're not suffering from sound anymore. We're not suffering from bad photography or bad visuals or anything. He's like, so every record kind of starts off as a seven, and that's not leaving us much to work with, you know,
Yeah.
because you know you're just like, oh, the songwriting, and then every record gets one song off of it. You know, nobody's like spinning full records anymore. And I was like, damn, that's a shitty way to look at it, and it's very truthful. is that is that uh, you'll hear something now, and you're not tearing it apart because of the presentation of it. You know, back in the day, it took so much to get a band together. It took so much to get a band into a studio. You had to get four or five fucking asshole people to agree on something. You had to book time. You had to put money into it. And now every Tom, Dick, and Harry can make a record fully out of their bedroom without having drummers, without having anybody. They don't even have to have amps, you
Yeah,
know?
you just do everything with some, some modeling software, fucking,
Yeah.
plugins and whatnot, and it's a wrap.
And so, you know, what was that ever going to do to the art form? It was going to always diminish it and reduce the efficacy of what you were creating because everything's too easy now, you know? And so, uh, you know, it's like I'm a firm believer in that not everybody should be recording music. Like, you know, it's like it's not nice, obviously, but I fully believe that. You're like, yeah, not everybody should be recording because not everybody's like cutting their teeth, and not everybody's putting the work in. Not everybody's having to trudge away and suffer for whatever the fuck they're doing. It's like, yeah, you get a fucking interface, a guitar. I feel good. Let me write this song together. And now with Suno and all the AI shit, like you just don't know anymore what's happening with anything.
I was talking to a good friend of mine, from Norway, and, we're both in agreement where, like, we're in the middle of this AI apocalypse. Like, people think that it's gonna happen in a few years from now, but it's happening now. I mean, the creativity is, I mean, it's all but done as an individual. I mean, people are, like, relying on fucking, like, the Chat GPT and the Soars of the world to just put out product that's been assisted by AI, and now, like you said, it's just like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, and you can't, you know, I mean, you can't hate everybody for wanting to be somebody.
Yeah.
All we've done is shown everybody that they need to try to be somebody. Like that's all. That's the engineering of society is just that you. It's not good enough that you enjoy reading. It's not good enough that you should like write your thoughts down or be this and that. And if you really want to draw pictures, you need to put time in and you know put the books down and start working on this shit. And it's like, no, everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to make an impact. They want something to go viral. They want to do some shit, and it's like, yeah, but what have you know, what have you done to have stories? Because what's going to happen whenever all of these fuckheads grow up and are 65 years old and they got to fucking talk to their, if they're lucky enough to have grandkids, because we're at an all-time low with reproduction, and men above 30 having, or men below 30 having fucking girlfriends even. So, I mean, we got some problems happening, and uh, it's obviously the thing that I'm holding in my hand, it's the fucking
Yeah,
phone and it's social media and everything else. And so, like, yeah, how were we going to survive this, and how are we going to make something out of this? And there's bands now that do well. There's a It's like there's a new Sanguisugabog record out, right? And it's fucking tracking well. It's brutal as fuck. They're fucking great death metal band, great brutal death metal band. And then there's a bunch of old dudes and they hate it. They're like, oh, I hate this shit. I hate this shit. And so, like, yeah, 'cause you're fucking old screaming at clouds. This is not for you. This
right.
is for all these 20-year-olds, and they're going fucking ape shit over it. Uh, Hank Williams Jr. has a song called Dinosaur, where he's the whole song where he's bitching about being an old man and things not being the way they used to be. And I was like, I thought about it the other day and it came on a playlist. And I was like, can you imagine if 20-year-olds wrote songs bitching about old people all the time? Like, it's an old man thing to sit around and bitch all the time, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, definitely.
And so when you're all like, yeah, you guys are just bitching, man. Everybody's just fucking complaining about everything, man. And I'm not impervious to it. I mean, obviously, I have my fucking times too, but I try not to, you
Yeah.
know?
What are some things that Dauber does, to just like, take you out of that mindset to where, you're just complaining, man? Like what's your aside from spending time with the family, like what's your go-to?
I generally don't participate too much in it anyway.
Yeah.
But what I do to decompress is I'm either playing, and if I got time, I could sit down and play the piano, and that's usually where stuff gets worked out, and I can transfer griefs and grievances and things like that. It's probably the best voice for that. Um, I spent a lot of time out in the country with my dad and my family, and so I mean, I'm very old school in that way, man. Like working, and I go out there and it's fucking roofing and knocking 100 fucking foot tall shitty pine trees down for him, and it's things like that. And I ride motorcycles. I'm not street bikes. I have too many friends who've been killed on street bikes, so I just stay away from them. And I got kids, so
Yeah, yeah. I'm with
I'm
you
not
on
trying
that.
to be a mark on the road. Um, so I ride off road. I do stuff like that. I shoot. I love shooting.
What you shooting like? What kind of guns you got in your arsenal there?
Oh fuck it, everything you can think of. I mean, I've got Ruger number ones, which are these drop block single shotguns. They're bull barreled, so they're made for they're long distance shooting,
Mhm.
plains shooting. Some of these things are meant for shooting antelope, and uh, I've got a 300 Winnie mag drop block. That's like an elk gun. Uh, I've got a couple of sets of Winchester 101s, but they're competition grade skeet gun.
Oh, wow.
And so I mess with that kind of stuff. And we have a skeet range. It's basically it's two electric loaders, remote control and stuff. And so we set up somewhat of a competition level thing out at my cousin's place and do that. Try to ride a motorcycle up the side of a tree, see if you can turn it around. Old Steve McQueen crap, and it's just shit like that, man. I like blowing stuff up. I'm not like a redneck blow the government guy or anything like
Oh,
that.
no, no, no. You
I'm
I don't know if you're aware, but man, you're talking to an old infantry marine right here.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
dude, look, I love shooting, man. I take my son out every time my son comes out for the weekend. We're taking out. I got 300 blackouts. I got an AR-15. I got a 45 ACP by FN. Bunch of HK
Oh,
9 mils.
oh, you're getting into that stuff. Okay, so I have an FNFAL. I've got a carbon fiber Springfield M14. It's got a Starlight scope on it. I've got some blacked out AKs.
Hell yeah.
But the thing is, though, is that as my dad says, uh, so I grew up in guns before guns became the thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Uh,
did I.
so we've got brown guns, you know what I mean?
Right.
And my dad bitches about it whenever he goes to gun shows now, and he's all like, "There's none but black guns there. I just left." You know, and I was like laughing at him because he means ARs, he means
Right.
M4 frames, he means all that shit. He's like, I'm so tired of seeing all these fucking armed military weapons everywhere. It's like, you know, I want fucking. He's got collections of Brownings, he's got collections of fucking Weatherby's and stuff like that. And he's like, I want to see like beautiful guns, and I
Yeah.
was like, eh. So I shoot a lot of that, and then he and my uncle and myself and our cousins, we've also got fun guns, you know, that like look cool guns. Um, so a few of those. I grew up with a tanker M1 carbine, like that was one of my first guns. So 30 carbine, the
Mhm.
shorty.
Yep.
Um, and then when I was about 16, I got an M1 Garand, and that was my deer hunting rifle for a long time. Which is a lot of bullet to be shooting deer with.
Yeah.
30-06, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my uncle's got a drop block single shot 50 cal that's completely recoilless
Oh, shit.
that we shoot. And without naming names, people out there, somebody in the family is an ex-marine military or ex-marine demolitions expert. So you know, people make things pre-tannerite, what tannerite's based off of, basically. And so we have some of those things, and you know, grew up with the acetylene bags and all that kind of shit. Like, you know,
Oh, man, that sounds like my kinda fun now.
yeah, you know, maybe you get in the neck of the woods and we can time it out. I'll take you out to the country and you can see how
Let's
all
go.
them. Yeah,
Let's go.
they're all about it. You know, I mean, it's obviously safe, responsible gun people. Like,
Right.
just grew up fully around it. I went through a phase of time where I was like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about guns just because I was surrounded by them. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like I was a country boy that moved to the city, and then I hear all the city people, and they just want to do country shit all the time. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, you don't want to do any of that stuff. You're not trying
Yeah.
to shovel shit and fucking deal with hogs and goats and stuff. Like, so, but yeah, you know, and we cook a lot. My wife and I and family, and we're chef level enough.
Mhm.
And so we cook a lot. We have big, giant family dinners constantly. Like, that's the stuff I like. That's what I do.
Yeah. That's nothing wrong with that at all, man. It sounds like some good fucking living, if I had to, hear it
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, man. Oh,
And
it's amazing. Yeah, it's, you know, it's hard because most of us work, you know, labor jobs like physical jobs and stuff, and you know, everybody does well enough. It's cool, but it's neat. That's what I was saying earlier, man. It's like I've had enough time to kind of become, you know, a master level musician.
yeah.
Like, I've been doing it long enough, and so then that's just in there and in the fingertips and all at all times, and it's all like so. I've been doing that long enough that I know how to practice. I know how to train for it. I know how to prep or what I'm listening for. It's like I don't even have to actively practice anymore. I can just do it in my head. You know,
Yeah,
it's pretty
that was a
pretty
question
neat.
I had for you, man. It's like, how often do you, I guess whenever you were putting the time in to practice your craft, like how many hours in a day you would devote to practicing, whether it's
Uh,
guitar or drums?
uh, uh, the guitar. Whenever I was like actively figuring it out and learning scale modal shit, you know, it was hours a day, but it was because of enjoyment. You know, with drumming, whenever I was like leading up to the prep work for like the World Extermination, the insect warfare record that's so famous, I was doing pad work. You know, hour a day. I'd get off work. I mean, I still was doing the same kind of work. You know, I'd go put in 12-hour fucking days and go to practice whenever I was in my 20s and 30s. You know, it was just harder like that. I drank a lot back then, and it was just kind of like, you know, it was a rite of passage. You felt cool for doing stupid shit like that. But then come to find out, it was just like that. My work ethic was just high. It was high enough to handle it. I had an energy level that could handle it. I could burn the candle at both ends, and I was fine. Um, Now to play the fast stuff, I do have to keep everything in shape because there's a lot of rust that can get in these things, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but like for the noted instruments, so like guitar or piano or anything else that I'm playing, uh, I don't do it as often. I've got a 7 month old right now, so I just don't have the. If I've got spare time, I try to go to practice. If I got spare enough time, I try to run to the gym. If I start playing the piano, my little girl starts singing to it, which is cool, but then it turns into like rage screaming at it. And so I'm not trying to like make her neurotic.
Dude,
she
let me just say for the rest of us that was probably thinking of it once this airs, but a 7-month old at 47 years old, bravo, sir. My hat is off to you.
Well, that's what happens when you get young women, you know what I mean? She you get for whatever reason, people are like wanting to breed with people. I have an 11-year-old, and then then it's like, hey, I also want kids, and you're like, all right, cool, yeah, that's badass, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, some of us got to do it, right? If there's
Right.
the birth rate is like 1.4 to 1 right now.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
You
we're gonna
you're
run out of
doing your
fucking people.
part.
I'm doing my part. You did your part. I'm doing my part. But but it's also, I mean, it's I forgot how amazing it is, you know.
Yeah.
And you think about it, and you're like, I'm not gonna have because my older daughter, love her more than anything on the planet, and I'm all like, am I gonna be able to spread that over two kids? Am I gonna be able to love another kid just as much? It makes you worried because you don't want to be, you don't want to have a deficit in any kind of way.
Yeah.
And then you do it, and you're like, holy shit, like, yeah, I can have both of this. And then my 11-year-old absolutely adores her little sister. And so, it was like a nervous step, and it was the right thing to do, you know.
Absolutely, man.
So I'm glad I did it. I wish we would have had more kids or more time, but we were putting so much effort into Oceans and touring, and we were always gone that, it would have been the right thing to do. And with this, even, it was hard to tour with my first daughter, not because I couldn't, just because it was hard to be gone. Uh, because there's a guilt to that. You're like, oh, I'm out having something that I love so much and I love doing, and then there's something at home that I love so much and I want to be away from, and so then you're like, you got to like separate the entities, and you're like, all right, cool. But I've never been like an SOB either, so I'm not out like partying my ass off and having the greatest time ever, being a fucking drunk or something on tour.
Right,
Right.
right.
And so when this next year comes up, that we're gonna have a lot more touring happening, and so we're just trying to get everything set up that I can be gone, and Cami has a support network that she needs, and all that kind of shit. Because we
So
got to
you're
keep pressing it forward. You know what I mean?
yeah, so you're anticipating a big touring cycle
Yes,
for
yes.
this new Necrofier record, I take it?
Necrofier and Terror Corpse. I mean,
Tank
Terror
Corps.
Corpse is already like taken off pretty hardcore because it's taking up where Malignant Altar left off. And Malignant Altar broke up not because of anything to do with me or Bo. It was just like the other guys were like younger and just couldn't focus. And so Bo was like, I don't want to do this. These guys aren't interested. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, Terror Corps opened up. I mean, you guys opened up for Soylent in Houston the same weekend that I was there for the Beharit weekend,
Yeah, yeah.
and y'all guys fucking killed it, dude. Like I told you before, I'll say it again. It was just nonstop, for all intents and purposes, terror. It
That's
was
good.
just just violence, man. It was great.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, that was our first show. We'd only been a band for 2 or 3 months. So, you know, but everybody's seasoned as fucking musicians, and we
Yeah.
all kind of know. So we're really hoping to keep the momentum up, and the record is being received very, very well. It's like really dark, violent, old American death metal.
Hell yeah. Just fucking punch you in the fucking dick over and over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's most definitely that, and so that's been really good for because all the record's out to all the reviewers right now. So all the reviewers are, for the most part, it's been really, really, really fucking positive. So, and plus we've got some big stuff that's about to happen with the band as far as coverage and that kind of shit. So, which I can't talk about until it comes out.
Roger that, roger that. Yep, no problem. Um, but man, speaking of your death metal side and the grind side, what are some influences as that you took into the songwriting process whenever you were doing things with like Insect Warfare, Malignant Altar, and now Terror Corpse?
Well, with Malignant, it was like plugging away at stuff that I'd done already. So all the TXDM shit that I was like a part of the birth of like the Texas death metal movement, it was basically them able to use that, because these dudes are writing like low tuned evil death that had a lot to do with like my old band Infernal Dominion or my other old bands, Sect of Execration and all that kind of stuff. And so with Malignant, that was easy just because that's where I'm from. With with Insect Warfare, uh, so before I got in the band, I did not like grindcore. I was not a fan. I just thought it was like sloppy, messy, and and I just like I just didn't have the respect that it deserved. And I soon found out that like I was stupid about it. I was the one being closed off and fucking ignorant because I started touring. I started playing with a bunch of the real deal grindcore bands. Um, because I just thought of Scum, Napalm Death.
Yeah,
And back then, this was 20 years ago. So back then, I was all like, no, 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 everything's got to be structured, and it's got to be all this crazy good guitar playing, and no, 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 the drums need to have these giant drum fills because it's not. I knew that obviously Sandoval and all those guys were in Terrorizer. But I was like, yeah, but the Terrorizer stuff is cool, but it's not Morbid Angel, so whatever.
yeah, yeah,
And then I got in Insect Warfare, and Bo was like, dude, you can just try and play as fast as you can possibly play. That's all you got to do. And I was like, all right, it's a cool challenge. Like, I'll do that. I was in a band called Brace for Nails with the ex Infernal Dominion guys, and it was super, super fast, like technical, evil death metal. And he said, so just play all that fast stuff. You just don't have to do the technical shit. And I was
mhm,
like, all right, cool. And so again, they had a split that was finished, and we re-recorded the split like within 2 weeks of me jamming the record together, and then we put the split out with me playing on it, and it just blew up from there because it was more of a precise like death metal blasting person coming into grindcore
yeah,
mixed with uh chaotic crazy riffing and the screaming and all that shit. And so then but then I started seeing more of it, and I started like developing the actual affinity for it. And they found bands that could cross me over and maybe get me caught up to speed more in the Rotten Sound and uh, old D beat stuff, Discharge and Disrupt and all that, which I liked a lot. And Asuk, Amoebics. Then the other stuff that was kind of the adjacent to the grind crush shit, which was like Poison Idea and all these bands. Who was the fucking what was the band? The old band Cryptic Slaughter. What
yeah.
was the
The
band?
Slaughter. Yeah,
Yeah. And so it was like these punky metal bands, these metal punks, and then you start realizing there's like metal punks as a scene, crust as a scene, and you're like, oh, okay, like I like this. I like some of these bands, and so then I fell into it, and then we did World Extermination after I'd kind of immersed myself in this whole thing, and and the that's just what it was. It was just coming from my background of a lot of death metal and black metal, and trying to play and fit into this thing, and then kind of being accepted into this thing, and then having like reverence for it. Like, so it was, it was neat. It was just right place at the right time, man. It could have been anybody if they played worth a shit. And made in a different way. It's not that the original Insect Warfare drummer played bad. I think it had to do with an outside perspective coming into something like that, and that's what helped.
yeah, definitely. Because I
So it's
mean,
like be ready. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's like be ready, time and place. Like opportunity presents itself, preparation, prepare. What is it? Prepare, perform, prevail.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. And so I was ready. I'm ready. I'm ready at all times.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it, man. It sounds like everything that you know get every time you're behind a kit with whatever band that you're working with, it's like it's no shortage of fast paced, technical, consistent, and the timing is just there. I mean, it's not and it's nonstop, and it's one thing that I was like, Ben had turned me on to insect warfare like last year or something. He's like, you ever heard? It was around Hell's Heroes whenever they did the Morbid Tales stuff
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
at, at Hell's Heroes. And he's like, yeah, he's like, you ever met Dobber? I was like, no, I haven't. And he's like, well, he's like, oh man, you gotta meet that guy. And he's like, his stuff that he did with Insect Warfare, Malignant Altar, you're gonna fucking love it. And I do. And and I was just like, dude, like it's just so fucking violent and it's like and one of my favorite bands that's ever come out is Pig Destroyer, and I was like, man, it's like in some parts on the Insect Warfare album, you're playing fucking faster than any fucking drum parts I've heard on Pig Destroyer. And I was like, God damn.
Yeah. It was faster for sure. We did some shows with them back right before the band broke up, and I had linked up with Scott. I got an email from him somewhere that I meant to respond back to. It was like from 18 years ago. He was all like, "Hey man, like you ever want to do a project, or we should get together and do a project sometime?" And I just kind of went into, you know, not into hiding, but I just kind of went back to my own woodshed, and I just kind of work on my own stuff constantly. It's like I'm not really. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, what am I? What's expected? Like, I can only do and get to what I can get to. I try not to overpromise myself. If I don't, I already have a pretty high output. So, um, and you say like the violence of it, and so like, yeah, it's like kind of the fucking purpose of getting into fast metal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fast metal's meant to be like on edge and violent and kind of out of control. It's like hearing 90s hip hop in a strip club, it makes you feel like you're in some scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
start playing and it sounds so dirty and dark, and you're all like, man, I feel this feels nasty in here now, man. Like
Yeah.
it's like the
It's
naked chicks
it's
writhing around, it's playing this old Mob Deep and shit, and you're all like, man, I feel like we're gonna get in trouble now. Somebody's gonna get shot or I'm gonna stab somebody, and it's like with metal, I feel like the same way with it. It's like it's nice to have to listen to something that makes you like stank face it and being like, "Fuck,
yeah.
man, this is fucking nasty."
Yep.
Because I think about like the first couple of Incantation records, and I listened to Upon the Throne of Apocalypse like 2 days ago. I listen to it all the time. I listened to that record and I was like, "Fucking Christ!" Like when this came out, people had to be shitting their pants of how dark this record is. And then they Incantation broke up, and the main John stuck with Incantation, but the whole rest of the band started Disciples of Mockery,
Mhm.
and which probably my favorite death metal record of all time is their Prelude to Apocalypse, which has a lot of parallels to the Terror Corps stuff, like on purpose. Um, but that record is so fucking dingy and violent and dark. It's probably my favorite American. It's probably my favorite death metal band ever. And so, if you've never listened to it, Disciples of Mockery, Prelude to Apocalypse, it's fucking nasty. And
You
it's
know,
Craig Pillard, it's Disma vocals, and yeah, yeah. And that's the way that it should sound. Like that's what I like about that stuff. It's if you played it for your grandma, she would fucking run to the Bible or something. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Speaking of which, man, you're rattling off some favorite albums of your collection, and I'm just really curious. Like, what are six albums that you just can't fucking live without? What are six of them that, you know,
Oh
House is on
shit.
House is on fire. You got to take six with you. What you going with?
Well, I'm probably I have a typo negative fucking box set collection if I had to. Definitely in that. That's probably October Rust. Probably one of my favorite records ever made. That's a tough one. It's tough because it just depends on the time. In the death metal world, it'd be Morbid Angel, Covenant, songwriting, production, everything about that record to me is perfect. That Disciples of Mockery record, but on the flip of it, there's a couple of Fates Warning records that I fucking would listen to monthly. Uh, Evergrey records, the first 4 or 5 Evergrey records. This is all like heavy progressive shit, so it
Yeah.
kind of depends. Arcturus, the first couple of Arcturus records. Uh, Ulver, probably
Oh,
the whole
oh,
catalog of Ulver
fucking
depends.
love Over. Fucking
Yeah,
love them, man.
definitely one of my favorite. Yeah, and them along with Samael, like I grew up with those guys, and I say that by that I started off metal, 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 and then they started experimenting, and then that made it cool for me to experiment. And so when Ulver started doing Perdition City and all their electronic shit, like I was like, oh, holy shit, like, okay, cool, I can do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've got electronic records and I've got all kinds of electronic music that I've done. And Samael did the same shit. And they did a record called Passage, and the drummer slash keyboardist writer of the records, he did. There's a limited edition version of Passage that's called Zytrus Passage, and it's all of the synth and him basically orchestrating the record. So it's all of this electronic work. And also on that tip, speaking of that era of time, it would The Gathering, the first 2 records with Annika on them are at the very top of my list. And that gets into stuff like Portishead and
Oh man. You,
uh,
now
Ma-
I love
Massive
Portishead.
Attack and shit like that.
Love that shit, dude. Fucking Massive Attack with was it Mezzanine?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah. Of course,
god, dude.
Black Milk and yeah,
Man That
yeah,
Lives Next Door and Angel and all that, all those classics is fucking amazing. I
yeah. I love that stuff. I mean,
Me too, dude.
truly, truly love that shit. But okay, cool. From Massive Attack, I mean, I fucking love Dead Can Dance. I love Tears for Fears and all that stuff.
Same, same here. I mean, you and I, we're just a couple, a year apart, essentially, and we grew up on the same shit. I'm starting to notice that where like there was a huge death metal scene in Texas, and in Louisiana, we just known for predominantly the Asabat, the Crowbars, I Hate Gods of the World, and even Salt and Green. So it's
Yeah,
like more sludge based. So like it's like that's kind of where you know as a teenage fan, I kind of like went through that vein, and somehow, some way, I found myself listening to more Scandinavian black metal and death metal. Talking about like Dissection and Entombed and
yeah.
Dismembered and all
Of
that
course.
stuff.
Yeah, that shit was big, man.
Shit, yeah, it was, dude.
That was the big time for everything. I
I
mean,
know. Fucking glory days, man.
what was who were the bands? You guys had Sabbatic Feast.
Radic Feast here in Lafayette. Yep.
Yeah. I used to know. I mean, I knew Levi and a couple of those dudes pretty well.
Sean.
Bass player.
Ah, fuck. I forget the name of the bass player. Uh,
Weird guy. He's
Clemo
weird.
is it Clemo?
I don't know. I have
Uh,
no idea.
oh
I know
yeah,
Levi moved to California and started singing for Disgorge for a little while.
yeah.
Disgorge, California. Then y'all had. I mean, there were a handful of that. Now, Flesh Ties was from Alabama. That wasn't from fucking. There wasn't many bands down along the southern coast, man.
No, man.
It was real weird. It's hard. I mean, New Orleans is a nobody plays there. You know what I mean? It
No.
sucks. You would think
It sucks. It
it's a
sucks
ma-
because
it's a magical city.
it really is. I mean, it's it could magically get you fucking murdered.
There's that, of
There's
course. But see, okay, cool. So then, doesn't that play hand in hand to the nasty, gritty nature of what it is we're talking about, though. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
absolutely it does. Yeah.
And that's what's crazy about it is that like the cities. I mean, Houston used to be a lot nastier and a lot dingier and a lot dirtier, and it was you know the music that came out of it was like that, Dead Horse and Galactic Cowboys, you know, Hellstar and all that stuff, and Imprecation and all these fucking harder bands. And it's the same thing with Louisiana. It's like there's so much about the voodoo bayou living and everything that's there's a soul to it, and it's crazy because you know anytime you talk to anybody about New Orleans, they're like, oh, it's so dangerous and it's so this and it's all like, yeah, it's Houston's super fucking dangerous. It's like infinitely more dangerous, and if you go there,
What's happening now, what like what I've noticed in the recent like 4 or 5 years, namely New Orleans, there's a lot of fucking like grindcore bands coming out of New Orleans,
yes,
which is
yeah, yeah,
which is awesome. You know, I got friends of mine that are like, there's Brat who's like just I mean killing it right now, and then you have my friends that are in Slab, Congealed Putrescence, um,
shit.
and dude, they're fucking amazing, dude. Like, you know,
I
interchanging a
know
lot.
I know the Brat stuff. I know the old big man on the drums.
Dustin, yeah,
I follow him on Instagram and see this. I mean, you know, he's getting around for the big fella, man. He's back there
he is,
fucking ripping. And I was like, fuck
he
yeah, here we
is.
go, man. That's
He
badass.
he's such a fucking sweetheart. I tell you, I love Dustin, man. That kid, he's got the chops, dude, to do it. I mean, if I love how they got those memes made of him. Like, if your drummer don't look like this, then you don't
Yeah.
know what's up. What's
Yeah,
up?
yeah, yeah. Well, there used to be a running joke back in the day because of Nick Barker being a big guy, and it was like him and Gene Hoglan. And I remember the jokes always were that you had to get big and fat to be a fucking ripping drummer, you know.
Right.
They were like, "Well, here's the proof. Here's the two, you know, the best drummers." And I was like, "Man, that's fucking amazing."
Man, so Dobber, before I let you go, I'm really curious because I mean you play a lot of classical music and whatnot, and like what are some of the classics that composers that you're really into, man?
So I am into romantic era classical music mainly, and that's not to say that I don't like Beethoven and Mozart and all that stuff. So in later era Russian romantics are what I love, and that's Sergei Rachmaninoff is my favorite composer in the world. So much so that I have a tattoo of his face on my hand. Um he everything from symphonies to, but mainly what I'm super focused on and have been for the past 20 years is piano works, like solo works. And so Rachmaninoff's preludes, his etudes, and all that stuff, those are the top. Scriabin is another, but Scriabin is kind of a crossover of Chopin into mysticism.
Hmm.
So later in his life, he kind of lost his shit and started getting super heavy into drugs and took a bunch of people to fucking, goddamn it, Nepal, to where he did a synesthesia show that was supposed to bring on the end of the world. So
Wow.
he would flash lights. This was way before any of this stuff was happening. And a light show with smoke and then scent that was but he had wrote a white mass sonata and then a black mass sonata, and he basically had these ideas that he was the second coming of things, and so brilliant fucking. And he went to school with Rachmaninoff, Chopin, obviously, Brahms, which is earlier, but Brahms solo piano works, stuff like that. So Russian romantics, Mayakovsky, Scriabin, Rachmaninoff, Glinka. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
And so really into that. I love there's a lot of modern composers. Max Richter, he's done a lot of movies that you know of. Shutter, Shutter Island, and all that. He's got a piece of music called "On the Nature of Daylight" that's been like the ending theme of 20 movies. So he's a fucking made man now.
Yeah.
And then there's a phenomenal woman from Denmark. Her name is Agnes Obel, but she is a modern chamber music person, and she sings. But it's the type of stuff I don't know. It's some of the most beautiful music in the world. Mari Samuelson. There's some modern violinists and shit that I follow, and the dreams are to eventually get into the same room as some of these people and work with them, and that's like working with Carla Kilstead and Tony Mamoni and some of these things that I've had the luck with working for Oceans. You know, that's been super badass. Uh, so yeah, the string side of things, as
Yeah.
far as piano, that's another big one for me.
Well, man, before and if there's anything you want to promote, anything you want to push, this is your time to be fucking Gene Simmons.
uh, Dark Descent's releasing the Terror Corpse full length Ash Eclipses Flesh on November 21st. And then the new Necrofier comes out on a undisclosed large metal label. I believe in February is what Christian told me.
Oh wow.
And I think that's about it. There's an Oceans of Slumber live unplugged record that we're finishing up right now, like a full DVD shot, like the old schools. The one I told you that was in the studio.
Yeah.
That's going to come out some point. That's gorgeous. Again, like if you know, our age group definitely had a time whenever you crossed over from like death metal to unplugged music, you know.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
and this is done in that way, like fully with that air of like the '90s, and it's beautiful. You know, my wife's the most phenomenal singer in the world. So
I've in preparation of our conversation, man, I went and I checked it out, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, dude, but it's fucking amazing. Like what y'all do musically and what she does vocally is it's fucking masterful. It's fucking brilliant.
thank you. You should read the lyrics, man, because they're deep, like deep things. You know, and so all the songs they're so tied to so many things. There's a song called "To the Sea" you should check out, man, because it's
We'll check it
about
out.
yeah, it's a beautiful song, and it's about kids, but it's also about child loss, and so it's a it's a big one. Yeah, yeah.
That's huge for me, man, because I got personal experience with that myself. So,
Me too. That's why we wrote it. So
well, man, hey, shit, we connected on so many ways today, Dauber, man, and can't wait to get back to Houston. I'm definitely gonna give you a shout when I get out there, man. We fucking you
yeah,
know,
yeah, for sure, man. Do that. And if you got time, and if you're there for an extended amount of time, maybe we can take a trip to the country. Christian goes out there with me pretty often too. So
hell yeah,
and
we'll
there's
do it.
room. So
Let's do it. Let's do it.
sounds
Fucking
good, man.
fucking Dobber Beverly of fucking Terror Corpse, Necrofier, and Oceans of Slumber, and check out his old stuff with Malignant Altar and Insect Warfare. And dude, thanks so much for coming on board, man. And I'll see
Yeah,
you
for
soon.
sure, man. For sure, man. Good night.
Good night, bud.